Big Ange, do you think he's getting sacked? Some really big reports yesterday that he's essentially a dead man walking, and they've sacked him. It's just not been announced yet. You had some big changes today at sort of director level of your team. What's your thoughts on that, Henry? Do you think he's gone?
Yeah, my gut feeling is we'll find out on Thursday. I think the club today have announced.
Decision?
Yeah, where's your heart at, Henry? What do you think of that?
Supporting sacking your most successful manager at the 21st century?
Yeah, bring Thomas Frank in. He's a better manager, better tactician, better coach, who works with a lower budget, who's got Brentford into a sustainable mid-table Premier League team, who are pushing for Conference League after losing big players like Ivan Toney. Brentford are a very well-run football club.
Yeah, sorry, back to you and Big Ange going. And Thomas Frank being better. Sorry.
Yeah, so like today was obviously a big day from the board's perspective. Donna Cullen, who's been Levy's like right-hand person at the football club for more than 20 years, she stepped down or allegedly stepped down. I think she's been given the elbow. We've brought in Vinay, who's the new CEO from Arsenal, who is the CEO of Arsenal up until 2024. The club want to bring a new director of football in. I think there's going to be a lot of change. I think Lang is going to go. I think Scott Munn, who's all about bringing on this multi-ownership model bollocks, I think he's going to go once Ange goes. I think my gut feeling is that Ange Postecoglou has already been sacked. He's currently on holiday in Greece. He did an interview with an Australian news outlet earlier saying that, he's ready for season 3. He's always better than season 2. He was saying that these players are ready now. The bottom line is, my personal opinion is, if anyone wants Ange Postecoglou right now, I think that opinion, in the way I see it, is based on the emotion of winning the trophy. Logic sense, like a logical thinker looks at that and thinks 45 losses in 2 seasons is fucking insanity in all comps. That is diabolical. Thomas Frank, in my opinion, is a better coach, manager, tactician. He ticks all the boxes. He's talent ID when it comes to signing off players. Wissa and Mbeumo for £30 million is a better signing collectively than anything we've done for the last 3 years. We went out and paid 60 million for Solanke. I think we can all agree right now that Mbeumo is a better player. He can play a 3 at the back system very well. He can play a 4 at the back system very well. He knows how to tactically set up against different systems. He doesn't just go gung-ho. It's all we are. It's who we are, sorry. And this who we are, quote unquote, is complete bollocks anyway. Because when it comes to come down to the crunch games this season, it's who we are went out the window. Brentford away, counter-attacking. Man City away, counter-attacking. Bodo, Frankfurt, Man United, the worst performance in Europa League final history. We did not dominate the ball and go into Ange ball, did we? We sat back because we know what Conte and Jose tried to install is we are best when we're on the counter. So his whole philosophy of football is thrown right out the window when it comes down to crunch time. So I think, and you add that on with he's fallen out with reporters, he's fallen out with fans. The writing's on the wall for me. And I'm a big believer of go out on a high. It's better to go out on a high right now, knowing you've just won a European trophy. We're at Man United, Erik ten Hag territory right now. If we keep him and have a bad start to the season, who do we bring in when it comes to October? Because Thomas Frank's not going to leave then. Marco Silva's not going to leave then. And you look at the transfers we're trying to do right now. We've got, apparently, according to Santi, we've got Leroy Sané is very close to being done. Emerick Eze, there's been more and more.
Sorry, Leroy Sané.
Yeah, that's mad.
You don't get me started on that. That's fucking a diabolical bit of business.
I thought Arsenal were hijacking that.
Like, what?
No, the Arsenal news came out this afternoon. He's linked to Arsenal. Is agent-led, not club-led. It's the agent touting him rather than Arsenal looking at him.
Obviously, Tottenham and Bayern Munich have got that Harry Kane and Eric Dyer relationship, and now that they've lowered the asking price,
so they're now just shafting you. It's a very one-sided relationship, this, isn't it? They got one of the best strikers of a generation.
Yeah, of course.
And you get Sané,
and they offloaded us flipping Matthias Tell, who was originally going to be a €50 million player. They've now lowered it down to €30 million. Apparently, Leroy Sané wants to move to London. His agents met up with Arsenal representatives. For some reason, he prefers to move to Spurs better because he thinks he can start. Like Leroy Sané's on €250,000 a week. We'd have to break our wage structure to bring in a 29-year-old who's only got 10 plus goals in the Bundesliga once and has massive injury problems. That's a match that's a fucking disaster. A team that doesn't know what manager we're going to have. Like, I'd understand if you could bring a Brian Mbeumo in, because it doesn't matter who the manager is. You can bring him in and he'll be effective. But Leroy Sané,
how much are you paying for him?
It's free transfer. So
he's going to be more than 250 grand a week then.
Yeah, his agent's probably going to get 15 million.
Big signing, yeah, big signing on fee, big agent fee. It'll still cost you about 30 million to bring in.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I think in the next 2 to 3 weeks there'll be a lot of change at the football club. But in terms of the original question, I do think Angie's gone. I will be shocked, gobsmacked if we going into next season with Ange Postecoglou, because
do you want him to go?
It's the emotion versus logic, isn't it? He's just given us the best moment of my life. I was there in Bilbao, crying my fucking eyes out, but
17 years. 17 years.
40, over 40 in Europe.
He has made you European champions. You've not been able to sit there on that pedestal.
Tom,
you are European champions
in the Champions League. We've got PSG in the Super Cup. That is going to be a cricket score with Ange.
Okay, but what I don't get with Spurs fans is, what do you think you should be achieving?
I think the group of players we've got right now is between 7th and 9th in the Premier League, not 17th.
So if I offered you 6th this season and you didn't win the Europa League, would that have been... So you're saying you should be achieving between 6th and 9th, whatever you just said. But I'm saying if you had that, you wouldn't have stopped it for this season.
Alongside that. Like, with this group of players, like,
they are tracking. Sorry, Henry, but they're tracking towards relegation. Since that opening 10 games of last season, look at his win rate in the Premier League. Yes, they won a trophy, but they are tracking towards being a relegation team. And if they have another season next year, like the one they've just had, but and no, like they've got you. I don't think you can ignore that for a trophy. I don't think you can ignore your league form since December 2023. Until May 2025. I don't think you can ignore that.
I'm not ignoring the league form.
No, I know you're not. No, I'm talking to Wolfie. After £500 million has almost been... Like, you lot all sit here and have a go, rightfully so, at Arsenal for spending 600 million and coming second 3 years running. Yet you're telling Tottenham you spent only like 200 million less to go from a 10-game title race to one place below relegation, and they shouldn't think about sacking their manager. Because let's not pretend that trophies are all that matter in the game. Your league position and your potential of getting to the top has to also count, surely.
But did Arsenal or Spurs have a better season this year?
Arsenal. Most definitely.
A better or more successful is a different argument, because people say Tottenham have, but they've had a more successful season. 20 years' time, Arsenal fans aren't going to remember finishing second, but Tottenham fans will remember that night in Bilbao. But let me ask a question to the panel in the chat. In a back four under Thomas Frank, is your doggy, Van der Ven, Romero and Porro better coached than it is under Ange Postecoglou?
Of course, he's a much better manager. Yeah.
Precisely.
No question. No question.
Okay, but would he have been better? Would that be better coached under Nuno?
Yes.
Okay, so what happened when Nuno went to Spurs?
He was given 8 games. Like,
yeah, and he was a 14-point manager. Do you know what it is as well, right? You've got to remember this as well. As much as fans should have opinions, and we're all sitting there having it, the way a fan feels about a season and how a club should assess a season, there has to be a difference in that as well. There has to be a difference in the way we look at things, because fans are forgiving and we're fickle, and a trophy can make everything look great. But they have to be what clubs, and I'm only taking this from listening to the greats of the game speak. Your league form and your league consistency is your bread and butter. That is what you are. That is what most managers of most English top flight sides are judged on. It's a little different when you're in a one-horse race in Germany. Champions League is very much where it's at. PSG's owners do the same because it's so easy to win that league. But PSG's owners wouldn't have been sacked as easy for not winning the Champions League if there was 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 other teams as rich as them fighting out for the league title and winning it. Winning their league title would be held with so much more esteem by their owners because of how difficult it is to win. So in the Premier League, where there are lots of teams with money, lots of wealthy owners, lots of upstarts, and I put yourself in that category, you have to look at league form irrespective of trophies and assess that as well. I think we're just getting into this weird phase now of ignoring it. I mean, no one was going, wow, Wigan had the most amazing season ever when they won an FA Cup. They were forgotten about a year later. Forgotten about.
But this is Spurs. You got to take into context the team you're talking about. This isn't a team that anyone expects to challenge for a title on a regular basis. As a Spurs fan, I think Spurs fans think they are bigger than they are, and they are better than they are.
I'm not saying bigger than they are, but come on.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying Spurs fans in general. Oh, yes, they seem to have this.
I agree.
This whole thing that we should always be in a top four race, maybe challenging every now and again. Spurs winning a trophy. I've seen Spurs now win 2 or 3 trophies in my lifetime. That's it. Why they think they should, just by name, because they sell out Beyonce concerts and everything else, because the money's rolling in. Why that means they should be in that title race or should be expecting higher, I don't know. I've not seen the evidence over the last, almost the existence of the Premier League to suggest Spurs have done this before and should. And winning the Europa League is a great achievement for you guys, and Spurs fans want more. It's weird. If you said to most Spurs fans, what were Ange's objectives?
Yeah, okay, but Wolfie, let's be honest about this again, though, right? So this is why I understand your point, and they won a trophy, but they kind of won it against all odds. Who win the most? If you go through the FA Cup winners, if you go through the Premier League winners, the League Cup winners, and then look at the English sides that win European trophies, barring the Conference League as West Ham did, and even when they won it, that was in that period where they were like pushing for top 4, right? Look at the teams that typically win the trophies in England in the last quarter of a century. They are generally the teams that are the most consistent in the league. Every now and then, you get an anomaly. You get a Wigan that get relegated and win an FA Cup. We've seen Swansea. Again, they were a pretty good team at the time they won it, though. But we see Swansea win they won the Carabao Cup, didn't they?
Yeah,
they won. You get these anomalies. Leicester winning the Premier League. You get these anomalies, but by and large, and it's why when someone said to me, I would get rid of my last 2 trophies, the FA Cup and the League Cup, if I was promised for the next 5 seasons to be as consistent as Arsenal, City, and Liverpool have been in the league over the last 5 years. Do you know why? I know Arsenal haven't got over the line in that period where they won 1 FA Cup, but those are the teams that have won Champions League, done trebles, won Premier Leagues. That should be the standard your club is fighting to get to. If you don't achieve it, you should be criticizing it. But Spurs, they make exorbitant amounts of money. They do pay it. They don't pay as much as United or as much as City, but they still pay a lot more money for their players and to their players than the lion's share of football clubs in Europe. They have to be striving for that. I don't think they can accept winning a trophy but being 17th, and the trajectory of their league form is taking them out of the league. You've got to make a change. They have to. We have to think more than just trophies. I think
couldn't you flip that around on a bigger scale to Manchester United? You finished 15th and didn't win the trophy. Yeah, Amarin's still in there. So Spurs now holding higher standards than United, who I agree are expected to do that.
No.
You're going to say a shorter term and a shorter whatever. I get it.
There's a difference. If Ange would have come in December, only had £20 million spent on a player, I would not be advocating for the same thing. But the fact that he has had your logic that I've heard you use about Arteta, he's had over 450 million spent on his squad, and they haven't done what Arteta has done. And you think he should be sacked and gone upwards towards a Premier League title in the league, which is your bread and butter. And I'm only quoting Fergie on this. Your league form is your bread and butter and is where you're truly judged as a manager. I'm trusting the greatest of all time. They have got worse after spending the better part of $500 million. So again, if $500 million in, Amorim has us sitting 17th. I don't care if he won the Champions League alongside it. I'd want him sacked. So my logic wouldn't change. The problem is Amorim and Big Andy's situations are not at the same. They're not at the same stage. Therefore, I can't personally be asking for the same outcome at this point because they're at different stages.
I get what you're saying, but I would argue that Amorim this season has declined worse than Ten Hag did at the start of this season. I'm not saying that Amorim should have come in and turned United into a European top 6 team again, but I would have at least expected to see some stability. You've gone on the decline in the back half of this
I understand where you're coming from. I am not surprised to see what we've had happen because I know the true. I believe I know the true root cause issues within this squad. Every time a manager tries to make this team run or play consistency, they down tools. They decide when they want to turn up. If a player get drops, they run out to the media and start selling stories. We've had all of that in the last 6 months, and these things are always going to take years to fix. These are deep-rooted problems. Every time a manager has tried to up the levels, we actually get worse. And what the fans do is always wrong. We turn on the manager. Go, oh, he's a fraud. We need a better manager. Someone new comes in. Generally, first of all, they adapt to the players. It's okay, boys, I've got you. We start getting better. As soon as it goes, right, guys, we've got better and petered out at 4th and 5th. Got to go for that title now. That means fitter, stronger, work harder, run more. I'm going to drop you for less because you need to raise the standards. And they all go, fuck you, and start down in their tools again. So I'm not surprised to see it, but it's because the situation at our club, again, not every club situations are the same. Therefore, not every managerial situation should be treated the same. You have to delve into the differences. And I think the biggest issue with Ange at Spurs, I don't think he's right for the way their club operates. They're never going to have one of the best squads in the league based on the reasons you've said. So they need a manager that's more suited to it. I think the way he plays or wants to play league football, he needs one of the best and strongest squads in his said league. And I just don't think he's a great match, Let's do some of these super chats because we are running out a little bit of time. A really good challenge, Wolfie. Love it, mate. Henry, do you think Spurs should forfeit the Super Cup and take a respectful 3-0 loss now?
No.
It's obviously a joke. We've already seen that Chelsea confirmed news. Thank you very much. With that news, Napoli just won the league again, is what Joshua Jack said here. I wouldn't be so sure because all I'm going to say is no one thought Scott McTominay was winning Player of the Year in Italy. It'd be funny if he went there and delivered. Sane plus Rottingham is a match made in hell. Do it, is what Magnum says here.